It's definitely been a rough ride for Starfield fans lately. When Bethesda's long-awaited space RPG finally launched back in 2023, the promise was clear. Big expansions every year, a living universe, and a long-term support plan that would evolve the game well into the future. Fast forward to now in mid-2025 and many of us are wondering, where did all of that energy go? Of course, after a lukewarm reception to the Shattered Space DLC last year and a long silence from Bethesda Game Studios, there's definitely some growing concern that Starfield might already be drifting toward the black hole of abandoned games. But hold on, there might still be some hope for this game. According to recent reports and rumors, Starfield's next DLC is still in the works, even as Bethesda now shifts more of its core team and focus toward the Elder Scrolls 6 and the rumored newly greenlit Fallout 5. Let's break down everything we've learned. But before we get into it, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the latest Starfield news. And if you're interested, consider becoming a member on the channel for early access on every video, members only content, your name in the credits, the ability to write in and have your comments featured, and access to the Discord community. The most interesting news comes from Windows Central's Jez Gordon, who recently spoke on the Xbox 2 podcast about Bethesda's internal projects. He claimed that despite the lack of news at the Xbox Games Showcase this summer, Starfield isn't done just yet. In fact, he says Bethesda's core team is still working on Starfield DLC alongside the Elder Scrolls 6. Of course, he didn't provide a release window or any major details about this upcoming expansion, but he did clarify that the content hasn't been cancelled, at least not yet. That's a pretty big detail. After the rocky reception of the Shattered Space expansion last year, fans were beginning to suspect that Bethesda Game Studios might be quietly abandoning the game, especially as rumors of layoffs swirled around the different Microsoft game studios earlier this year. Gordon also noted that even after those layoffs at Microsoft, Starfield's additional DLC is still in active development over at Bethesda Game Studios. So while it's definitely possible that things could change next quarter, the takeaway for now is that the second expansion is still alive and in the oven. And at this point, we really have no idea when the second DLC for Starfield might actually release. I believe at this point last year, we had already seen some footage of the Shattered Space DLC over at the Summer Games Fest presentation, and it was set for a September release. And at this point in time, we have no information about this next DLC. But realistically at this point, we really don't know if this second Starfield DLC will even launch in 2025 at this point. Previously on an interview with Mr. Matty Plays, Todd Howard had said that they're planning annual expansions for Starfield. But recently, rumors have suggested that the DLC might not ship in 2025 at all. Based on these recent rumors, Starfield's second DLC may not arrive in 2025 according to reliable leaker Nate the Hate, who suggests the expansion is likely delayed now until early 2026. Despite Bethesda's silence, insider chatter, and continued development, all of that hints that the team hasn't abandoned the project just yet, but the pressure is definitely on right now after Shattered Space's weak reception when it released. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, Shattered Space. This was Starfield's first paid expansion and was bundled in with the deluxe edition of the game, and it had the weight of enormous expectations on its shoulders. It had been teased well before Starfield's launch and marketed as a big moment for the game. Unfortunately, when it actually arrived a full year later after the original release, it failed to deliver the spark fans were hoping for. Many players found this new DLC for the game repetitive, short, and lacking in meaningful gameplay improvements. Sure, it added some new gear and lore, but it didn't fix what players were actually complaining about in the base game: slow traversal, limited exploration depth, and a lack of meaningful choices for the player. Critics described it as a resurgence attempt that stumbled out of the gate. Some even called the expansion too expensive for what was actually being offered here. That disappointment is also what makes the silence surrounding the second expansion currently so frustrating for us fans. Even though Todd Howard of course did confirm a second DLC was being developed back in June of 2024, there's been radio silence since that interview from Mr. Matty Plays. Bethesda had the chance to show something, anything at all, at the Xbox Games Showcase in June 2025 around Summer Games Fest, and instead, Starfield was completely absent from that event. In March of this year, Bethesda did put out a vague update on social media thanking fans for their patience and teasing that exciting things were planned for the game this year. That message said they weren't ready to share specifics just yet, but they were always listening to player feedback. That was 4 months ago now. Since then, there's been no blog post, no developer stream, and not even a screenshot to chew on. We did just get a small update that I'll talk about later in the video, and they're still saying that more is coming in the future. So hopefully they deliver on that at some point. But the community has started asking the hard questions around this game. Is Bethesda still truly invested in Starfield, or was the game's performance underwhelming enough to justify winding things down early? If Starfield is meant to be a living, breathing universe that kept growing every year, the momentum has seriously stalled with this game, and that's what makes the next big opportunity Gamescom 2025 in August so important. Bethesda is definitely confirmed to be attending, and fans are desperately hoping for some sort of information about this game. Whether it's a teaser trailer for the second expansion or even a roadmap update, this might be the last chance that Bethesda Game Studios actually has to reignite interest in Starfield before the community entirely moves on from the game, if they haven't already, of course. Part of the reason Starfield feels like it's being overshadowed at the moment is because Fallout is suddenly everywhere in the news. Fallout 76 is getting some pretty impressive updates, the Fallout TV series has been a huge hit, bringing new prestige to the franchise, and perhaps most significantly, rumors are now suggesting that Fallout 5 has been officially greenlit by Bethesda. According to Jez Corden, this decision to greenlight Fallout 5 may have come at the cost of another project, specifically Project Blackbird, a rumored MMO that was in development at ZeniMax Media. Fallout 5 is reportedly moving into active stages of development, and if that's true, it means Bethesda is possibly shifting major resources back towards its more iconic IP. That's great news for Fallout fans like myself, of course, but for Starfield, it might be the final nail in the coffin. But for this game specifically, the timing isn't ideal. Starfield was supposed to be the next big step for Bethesda Game Studios, a brand new franchise designed to live alongside the Elder Scrolls and Fallout. But with Fallout 5 now, according to rumors, heating up and Elder Scrolls 6 already deep into production at the moment, Starfield risks becoming the odd one out in this situation. Bethesda only has so many resources to spread around, and the studio is clearly prioritizing projects that are guaranteed to succeed. Don't get me wrong, Fallout and the Elder Scrolls are some of my favorite series of all time, and if it comes at the cost of Starfield that we get another Fallout game in the Elder Scrolls 6 a lot sooner, then I can honestly become okay with that. The only other option, I guess, would be that Bethesda Game Studios is not the primary team developing Fallout 5, and another studio would be the one to start on this game in the coming months. Who would one of these other developers be though? It's hard to say, of course, but there are plenty of worthy candidates such as Obsidian, Larian, In Exile, or maybe another non-BGS studio like the team currently working on Fallout 76 and that game's updates. Because while Bethesda Game Studios might not have enough resources to undertake all these projects, there are other studios under the Bethesda Softworks umbrella that would be capable of working on the game, of course. And maybe this comes at a point of frustration, but at this point I say please take Fallout away from BGS, because at this point it's crap or get off the pot. The last single player Fallout game was in 2015, almost 10 years ago at this point. And if you're gonna make me wait 20 years between releases, then yeah, I could really care less who makes the game at this point. I want whoever is gonna make a great Fallout game in the shortest amount of time. I've waited too long, and well, Fallout 76 isn't my type of game, so it's not one that I've played many hours of, but Fallout 4 I loved. And whoever can give me another great Fallout game the quickest is honestly who I'm going to be fine with making the game. It's not all doom and gloom though. Starfield still has a strong foundation, and there are thousands of players who genuinely love the game's setting, shipbuilding mechanics, and story moments. There's still some room for redemption if the next DLC delivers in a big way, of course, but they have to go all out here and make it a big splash. But Bethesda needs to act soon on all of this. On Steam, the game's active player base has dropped a lot since launch, of course. At times, barely a handful of people are streaming it on Twitch as well. As I record this right now, it looks like it currently has about 5,000 players peak in the last 24 hours. That kind of visibility loss is hard to come back from without a major content injection. Fans are already comparing Starfield's post-launch trajectory unfavorably to Fallout 76, which at least had a regular cadence of updates, events, and community engagement for players to enjoy. If Starborn, the rumored title of the second expansion, ends up being another shallow content drop like Shattered Space, it could be the end of the line. Shattered Space was mid at best, and barely even moved player numbers for this game, so the next expansion has to be amazing. On the other hand, if Bethesda Game Studios can use Gamescom's 2025 in August to blow people away with something unexpected, that could be the start of a new chapter for this game. Starfield isn't dead, not yet of course, but it's definitely in critical condition at the moment. Bethesda still has a chance to turn things around of course, but it's going to take more than vague tweets and half-hearted expansions to rebuild trust with the community. The good news is though, we know the studio still has some talented developers who care about their games, and if Jez Corden's comments are accurate, they're still putting time into Starfield alongside the Elder Scrolls 6. That means someone believes there's more story to tell in this universe, now they just need to prove it to us. Until then, Starfield sits in limbo, caught between the stars and the shadow of giants like Fallout and the Elder Scrolls, and for fans still holding out hope, the wait continues for future content. While players are still waiting on news about the second major Starfield expansion, Bethesda quietly dropped a new beta update on Steam for the game in July 2025. It's not a massive patch of course, but it's a signal that the studio hasn't abandoned the game just yet. The update version 1.15.222 is available right now for players who have already opted into Starfield's beta branch on Steam, but you can go and do that as well right now if you want to try out the new update. The patch mainly includes small changes like interface tweaks to the creations menu, some crash and stability improvements for the game, and a fix for extreme temperature gear that was displaying incorrectly. There are also some other minor updates to sorting in the missions menu. Nothing flashy of course, but still welcome polish for this game. But the real point of interest comes from Bethesda's post about the update. In their announcement, they said that they're continuing work on future updates and promise to share more about the exciting things we have planned for Starfield in the coming months. That little line has given fans a little bit of hope, I guess, that something more substantial could be on the horizon for this game, even though rumors are floating around that Starfield's next big expansion might not be out in 2025. Bethesda's public messaging suggests that they're still actively working on the game at the moment. With the Elder Scrolls 6 deep in production and Fallout 5 rumored now to be greenlit, it's clear that Bethesda has a lot on its plate at the moment, but this beta update proves that they're still making time for Starfield, at least for now. The coming months and maybe Gamescom in August of 2025 will likely be crucial in deciding whether Starfield can stage a proper comeback story or continue fading into the background. Either way, the July beta update shows there's still a pulse, and maybe even a plan for the future. For this section of the video, let's get into audience inquiries where you can submit your questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, or ideas for future videos. We had several audience write-ins for this video, but if you want to write in, head over to the post tab on my channel. That's where the thread for upcoming videos will be posted. The first write-in comes from Bhavya Sharma, and they said, something is definitely at work, but I don't assume we will hear anything about it, other than that Kingath is actually making quality DLC size mods. And according to them, latest mod changed math for them, and they're even expanding teams, so I'm excited what they do next. And yeah, I really don't know when we'll actually hear about the next expansion at this point, but to your point, Kingath Creations makes some great creations for Starfield and Skyrim, I believe. They did the Bard's College expansion creation, whatever you want to call it, for Skyrim, and it looks like it's a ton of fun. And then they also made the Watchtower DLC for Starfield, and I believe Sim Settlements for Fallout 4, so they do some great work, and I can't wait to see what they do next. But I haven't played Watchtower yet or the Bard's College expansion for Skyrim. I really need to do that, but I have watched the trailers for them, and from what I've seen, they look really good. The second writing comes from Fallout fan Mike, and they say, I enjoyed Starfield a lot. It's been the most stable Bethesda experience I've had. That said, content is really needed outside of creations, and I fear for the same disappointing experience as Shattered Space. And I agree, the next expansion or DLC for Starfield needs to hit it out of the park. They really have no choice, or the game will probably be done at that point in time. It's rumored to be called Starborn, so hopefully it has something in line, I guess, with the main story or main concept that Starfield kind of follows, so maybe it'll be something really good. But yeah, Shattered Space was pretty disappointing for me at least, and I know others agree with that. But whatever they do with the next expansion, it has to be really good, or the game's probably done, like I said before. The next write-in comes from Seth Warwick, and they said, any chance Starfield on PS5, or is it just going to stay on Xbox and Steam? And there's been a ton of rumors that Starfield was going to be releasing at some point this year on PS5. So I'm pretty sure, or at least positive, that it will come to PS5 at some point in time. But my personal speculation and what I've seen a lot of other people say is that it will launch on PS5 the same time as the second expansion. And if that's the case, I guess it would launch on PS5 possibly next year, according to the rumors that I covered earlier in this video. The ones from Nate the Hate at least said that the expansion is probably delayed till early 2026. So if rumors are to be believed and everything, you kind of put all the context together, it probably won't come to PS5 until early 2026 as well. The next writing comes from Eric, and I couldn't really pronounce the rest of your name, so I'm just going to say Eric. But you said, do you think if we mass requested transmog on Starfield and Bethesda's social medias, we could get it? It's high time Bethesda added transmog to their games. And I don't know if really requesting it's going to do anything, but I would love to see this feature added to Bethesda games. It would be really cool. I believe they added it to Cyberpunk 2077 with... Did they do it with the 2.0 update, or it might have been a little bit sooner? But basically you can have, at least how I understand it, you can have all of your weird kind of crazy mishmash of items on, and you get some outfit that you can kind of overlay over, like what you see on your character is the transmog outfit, if you call it. And then all the stuff underneath it just be random stuff that gives you the stats that you actually want. So you get the opportunity to have the gameplay features that you want and the look that you want for your character all at the same time. But I would love to see that added to Bethesda games. I don't think us requesting it is actually going to do anything, but yeah, they definitely need to add this to future Bethesda titles. That's all the write-ins for this video, and like I said before, if you want to write in, head over to the post tab on my channel. All the threads for future videos will be posted there, and thank you all for writing in. I really appreciate it. Those are some interesting conversations to have about Bethesda and Starfield. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the latest Starfield news. And if you're looking for something else to watch, click one of the videos you're seeing on screen right now. I will see you there. Also, a huge thank you to all the amazing channel members.